Hi everyone, it's Johnny Steed here again, and today I'm going to be doing my contest entry for Noble Records and his 750 subscribers competition. Now he's overtaken that by some way. He's now up to about 1100, I think, so I'm pretty sure that anybody watching this will already be subscribed to him, but if you're not, I'll put a link down below. Dylan obviously has a big passion for music. He can really just come across in his videos. I recommend checking out, if you've not already seen them, his videos where he tells stories about some of the records he's got. He's got some great tales to tell. And he met Johnny Cash once, which is very cool. So the first question is, what was my first memory with vinyl? And that would be receiving this as a gift in Christmas or my birthday in 1975. This is a single by The Goodies. Now if you're under the age of 45 and not from the UK, you're probably not familiar with who The Goodies are. They were a comedy trio. They were huge in the early 70s. They had a TV show. Began on the BBC, and I think it went over to ITV later on. And famously, somebody died laughing at one of the sketches. No, it's not funny when someone died, but there's, if you want to look it up on Wikipedia, apparently the wife wrote a letter to the group saying thank you for making his last moments so enjoyable. Apparently he laughed so much in one of the sketches that he had a heart attack. Anyway, back to the record. This one in particular is called Make a Daft Noise for Christmas. And on the other side we have The Last Chance to Dance. So The Goodies also made albums. They kind of did comedy novelty records, pastiches of the pop music at the time, very much in the kind of glam rock vein, and later on sort of disco sounding music. And I'll just play a little bit of this so you can actually hear what it sounds like. That's if it'll play, because this record is in horrendously bad condition. Yeah, nice bit of wah wah. Yeah, I think this is a big influence on me growing up, making daft noises and coming up with stupid words and things. Definitely got that Chin and Chapman kind of vibe about it. So if I can find a link for it, I'll pop it down below, so you can check it out yourself if you want. Their biggest hit was a song called Funky Gibbon, which is fantastic, and they had the Goodies theme tune, which I think was a big hit as well. I've got another one, which I'm not sure whether I don't think this is an original one from the early 70s. I think this is something that we may have picked up later because it's got someone else's name on it. It says John Scott on there. That's not me. But this is a song called The In-Betweeners. And the other side was their idea of a Christmas single, and it was called Father Christmas Do Not Touch Me. Yeah, that's the 70s for you. But yeah, I remember playing these on a little kind of portable all-in-one record player with a built-in speaker. I can't remember it much past my 6th or 7th year, so it probably broke not long after I inherited probably from my older brother. I wasn't really sort of concentrating so much on the music. I think we would just play around with them, really. I mean, a lot of the time these singles would end up being used as frisbees, and we'd have fun speeding them up and slowing them down. So I wasn't really appreciating the music at that point. But yeah, if you want to know what my first memory of vinyl was, it would be The Goodies on single. Okay, so fast forward a few years later, and my dad had upgraded the family stereo system. It's quite a nice sort of Panasonic, I think it was, or maybe a Philips separates with a turntable on it. And he only had a few records, not many, a couple of Roy Orbison and some sort of easy listening, but he did have a few classical records. And I can definitely remember sitting down with headphones on and going through these records and listening to them. And that was really my first experience of properly listening to vinyl music on headphones. He had a couple of classical records, which I still have. Now, one of which was this 50 classical excerpts, sort of like a best of, really. It's a double album. It's got everybody on here from, you know, Tchaikovsky and Schubert and Mozart and Bizet and Brahms. All the bits of music that you're probably familiar with if you know anything about classical music are on here. And he also had the 1812 Overture by Tchaikovsky. Which I listened to quite a lot, but actually my favourite was the B-side, the Capriccio Italien, which I still quite like. However, The one record which I fell in love with, and this is going to be my answer to the second question, which was the first album you fell in love with, and I guess you could call this an album because it's on vinyl, and this is Beethoven's Sixth Symphony. Which I was absolutely blown away by the first time I heard it. Listening to this on headphones, I was probably about 8 or 9 years old, and literally changed the way I thought about music. I'd never really thought that music could just move you in that kind of way. So this has been a lifelong favourite. Beethoven's by far my favourite composer. I would go as far as to say that I think his body of symphonies is probably the greatest piece of art created by man. I don't know if I've said that before. Beethoven was probably the greatest composer of music that's ever lived. I'd say he's probably my favourite one, simply because this was the one record that my dad had and he used to play occasionally. One of the times he did play music, I remember this filling the house with music on a Sunday afternoon. And yeah, so this is definitely the first album that I fell in love with. Okay, so the next question is significant records. I'm going to go with the records I own by what would probably be my favourite band. If I was really pushed into a corner to say what my favourite band of all time was. Probably because it's the band that I've loved for the longest, and I just think their catalogue is impeccable. I am of course talking about Led Zeppelin, and these are the albums that I own so far. Anyway, I've got Coda, and I think I've shown this one before, In Through the Outdoor, on what I'm assuming is some sort of dodgy Portuguese knockoff copy because it's extremely flimsy sort of cover. And I also have Led Zeppelin 2, which I picked up recently. And I have House of the Holy and Led Zeppelin 3. Now I don't have Physical Graffiti, and I don't have the first one either, Led Zeppelin 1. So I do have a few gaps to fill. But yeah, Led Zeppelin were probably the band which kicked off my passion for classic rock and all things sort of heavy. And there's just so much depth. I mean, you know, everything's been said about Led Zeppelin, but they do definitely hold a special place in my sort of memory of music. And it was the band that started me off on a whole different path down to exploring different types of 60s and 70s rock, which just led on to me wanting to be in a band. And So I definitely have to say that the Led Zeppelin records I own are probably the most significant to me anyway. And question number 4, what was the most I ever spent on a record? Well, I've not really spent a lot, to be honest. Maybe back in the day I'd buy something that was new, which seemed like a lot of money at the time, but since I've been collecting them again, I've not really spent more. I tend to have an upper limit of about £5 English. Not sure what that translates to in dollars, but I did splash out quite recently on this. This is the Anthrax album, State of Euphoria, which I paid a whopping £7 for. I just saw it on the market and it was a little bit above what I'd normally go for, but I just thought, you know what, I do like this album, I don't own any Anthrax, and so £7 seemed quite a reasonable price. But I did sell a record for a bit more than that. I sold a 12-inch single on eBay about 2 years ago for 40 quid by a band called Chainsaw. The song called Massacre. I'll put some pictures up here of it. Now, yes, I do regret selling it, but at the time I needed the money. I sold it to someone in France, so that's probably the most I've ever got for a record that I've sold. Right, and question number 5, Ultimate Grail. It's quite easy. My Ultimate Grail, which I'll probably never find or never be able to afford, is going to be a first pressing of Led Zeppelin 1 with the turquoise writing on it. But I haven't got a couple of grand to spare to buy one, but you never know, it might show up in a charity shop one day. But on a more realistic level, I would love to be able to find any of the Elliott Smith albums that were released during his lifetime. And on a much more smaller scale, I'm currently looking for a copy of the first Stone Roses album, a 1989 release. It's probably something I'll be able to get quite soon, hopefully. Okay, they were my picks. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to check out Noble Records if you're not already subscribed. And if you'd like to subscribe to me as well, I'd very much appreciate it. Okay, thank you very much and goodbye.